Hi everyone, this is Ruth Rothlingshofer. It seems that I didn't put enough information in my first introduction, mainly because I didn't know if I would be able to stop talking, and I probably would bore you all to tears. I've been retired for a number of years, and I really had no desire to return to the field of education professionally. But when my grandson, who has dyslexia, started school, I became acutely aware of the serious issues that face dyslexic children in the public school system. So I am rather unique in this class, as I have no professional ties to an educational system. I have neither the need nor the desire nor the time for a paying job. My sole motivation in taking the Specialist in Gifted and Creative Education course is so that I can better understand how to homeschool my grandchildren. Also, I very much would like to contribute something to the improvement of the education of dyslexic children. Because of my circumstances, you might even say that I am a diverse student in this class. Right now, I'm on a journey of sorts, and I'm letting my journey determine my destination. So, in the future, I may again become involved in the school system professionally. More likely, though, I may write a book. I've actually already begun an idea to write and illustrate a children's book dealing with the issues a dyslexic child faces. So, in answer to Part A, my personal interest lies with improving the academic, social, and emotional issues that dyslexic children must face in the public school system. It might be helpful at this point to give you a little background information about dyslexia, to better help you understand why I turned my attention to this area. Dyslexia occurs across race, ethnicity, and socio-economic boundaries. It affects 1 in 5 students, ranging in degree from mild to severe. This means that in a school of 1,000 students, there are probably 200 students affected by some degree of dyslexia. Dyslexia is neurobiological and genetic in nature. Dyslexia is not due to low intelligence, nor is it due to a lack of effort. Many dyslexics are super smart and very creative. These students can experience severe stress, which can disturb the learning process. The reason for this stress are bullying by teachers as well as peers, being told they are lazy, dumb, or not trying hard enough, being kept at an academic level far beneath their intellectual level, timed tests, being taught by inappropriate methods, a sense of personal failure, frustration, and low self-esteem. I would like to share with you a little of the insight I've gained about the emotional damage that can be done to a child that is subject to a hostile school environment. This insight can be illustrated by the following account. Jonathan Mooney, co-author of the book Learning Outside the Lines, tells of his second-grade experience. During reading, I was so angry and ashamed. I could taste the stomach acid come up into my throat and seep behind my nostrils any time I burped. Mrs. C talked to the kids in the higher reading group differently than she talked to me. Her body language told them that they were good, they were smart, and it told me that I was stupid. In my reading group, each time I attempted to unscramble the words that floated around in my head, I tried to tell Mrs. C to let me stop. I couldn't breathe. I felt trapped. I was trying so hard and wanted desperately to be like everyone else. I learned that year to hide in the bathroom to escape reading out loud. In the bathroom, I would stare at the mirror, hoping to God that no one walked in on me crying. But it only worked sometimes. Mrs. C often stopped the lesson until I got back from the bathroom. When I returned, I could feel everyone staring at me. Here I am reminded of a quote by Steven Spielberg, who is dyslexic. He remembers his feelings this way. In the 3rd grade, if I was asked to read in front of the class, that day would be another long day in a long series of the worst days of my life. During an interview, Steven Spielberg was asked the following question: "When you got bullied, how did you deal with that?" Steven Spielberg answered, "I got bullied. I dealt with it by making movies. Making movies was my cover-up. You know, kids, before they start to see themselves from the point of view of others, can be really, really harsh, really, really mean. But as an adult, looking back, I have no resentment as to what I went through as a kid." Dyslexia is increasingly being recognized as being accompanied by a visual spatial thinking style. Dyslexics tend to think in pictures rather than words. In a letter, Einstein revealed to a friend that he thought in images, and sometimes later translated them into words. Einstein is actually thought to have been dyslexic because of his delay in reading. This concept may be difficult for a linear sequential thinker to understand. Since linear sequential thinking is favored in public schools and visual spatial thinking is not valued, dyslexic children can find themselves in a very difficult and stressful situation. Part B, Diversity and Equity Issues I have observed. I have observed firsthand and also anecdotally the inequitable treatment of dyslexic children in school. Many times they are not treated fairly and respectfully, and they are not afforded the opportunity to use assistive technologies that would help them reach their academic potential. When my grandson was not able to read in the 1st and 2nd grade, our family was stunned and shocked by how the school addressed the issue. The school had no academic plan in place to address the issue of dyslexia. In addition to this, the 1st grade teacher placed a heavy social, emotional burden on my grandson. I would like to share with you some of Christian's story. Since this is very personal to me, I will try not to become. On the first day of 1st grade, Christian's teacher asked the class to write a response to a question. When Christian started to draw his response, she crumpled his paper and threw it in the trash. So began a very miserable year for Christian. On another occasion, she asked Christian to read a passage in front of the class. When Christian read it perfectly, she took it from him, told him to sit down, and said in front of the class, "You didn't read that, you memorized it." Of course, it was true that Christian had heard the passage read before, had memorized it, and pretended that he could read it. He had often done this at home, but he never again did it in the 1st grade. These are but two of the indignities that this teacher inflicted on Christian during the year. In the book Bullying and Dyslexia, the author Sherry Ray writes, "Students with dyslexia may experience bullying in the classroom by their teachers, who are thoughtless and poorly informed, who simply don't know any better." In addition to verbal bullying from his teacher, Christian experienced verbal as well as physical bullying from his peers during the 1st grade. Since my husband and I were retired, we picked Christian up every day after school and brought him to our house. Some days he would just sit quietly with me for a while. Sometimes he would be able to unload the difficulties of the day. Other times he would sit with me and cry. After the fact, we realized that the teacher's public bullying tactics inspired and gave permission for some of Christian's peers to do the same. Christian is very artistic, but toward the end of 1st grade, Christian said to me, "I think I'm forgetting how to draw." I remember this vividly because it broke my heart. Now, looking back, I realize that this statement was quite profound. Recent research supports the reason why Christian may have truly felt that he was forgetting how to draw. Not only does stress impede the ability to learn, it can hinder creative ability as well. Over the summer, Christian had recovered his emotional stability, and he was hopeful for a better year in 2nd grade. Even though Christian still did not read this year, his teacher understood his social and emotional needs and helped him with his struggles. Toward the end of 2nd grade, Christian was finally diagnosed by the school psychologist as having a very high intelligence as well as being dyslexic. He wrote in his report that the school had not met Christian's needs Because the public schools were not meeting Christian's academic needs, his parents decided to homeschool him starting in the 3rd grade. I shudder to think of what Christian could have become, but I am so grateful to know and be confident of what he will become. This is a picture of Christian in the 3rd grade, happy, positive thinking, upbeat, and doing well. And so this experience impressed upon me the extreme importance of respecting diversity of all kinds and treating our children both mindfully and equitably. I'd like to share with you one last insight. Jack Horner is a world-renowned paleontologist who received the MacArthur Fellow Award of $500,000. This award is given to about 20 people annually. It is often called the Genius Award, and it's given to people who express many important qualities such as the ability to transcend traditional boundaries, willingness to take risks, persistence in the face of personal and conceptual obstacles, and the capacity to synthesize disparate ideas and approaches. Jack Horner is also dyslexic. He didn't begin to read until the 3rd grade. When Jack Horner was in school, he failed miserably, and he was told he was stupid, as many dyslexics are. His high school English teacher gave him a D minus for the course, and told him, "This doesn't mean you passed. It means I never want to see you again." His mother, however, was always supportive of him. It seems that dyslexics that succeed have one person who strongly supports them, usually a relative. Later in life, he gave this advice to educators. Maybe it's time for a revolution. Take us, that is dyslexics, out of special ed, and put us in spatial ed, taught of course by spatial thinkers. So just think, that special ed student in your school who reads so poorly might someday be recognized by the world for his accomplishments. Part C. My least favorite aspect of engaging equity issues is conversing with people who have little interest in understanding people different from themselves. Conversing with people who have little interest in recognizing and nurturing the gifts, talents, and abilities of people different from themselves. Conversing with people who don't recognize that dignifying and respecting each child's worth and abilities uplifts all of human society. And last but certainly not least, the intractability of the public school system. My favorite aspect is that I love to see it when children begin to realize that their gifts, talents, and abilities are indeed recognized and valued. And I am uplifted myself when I see children understand that they are not alone or isolated, and that they can find success in life. Well, I hope you've gotten to know me a little better, and thank you so much for listening.